Hey friend, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I'm going to show you how to record drum overheads. We're going to be exploring drum overheads today, how to record them. We're going to be using two microphones, so it's going to be a stereo overhead capture, and this is going to help you dial in a great drum capture right from the get-go here with just your overhead mics. But before we dive in, if you're looking to go a little bit deeper into the drum mixing process and really start to dial in your workflow, then you need to go through my 3-step framework for mixing drums workshop. This is a simple workshop that's going to walk you through my 3-step process for mixing drums, and it's going to help you dial in a repeatable workflow for cranking out professional sounding drum mixes right from your home studio. It is a 100% free to watch, on-demand video training, and you can get instant access to that by clicking the link below in the video description. Now let's jump in here and take a look at these overheads. Okay, here we are coming into the drum room. This is the overview of the kit here. You can see our over mics hanging out up top here. Talking about the mics first, I guess. These are both Shure SM57s that we're using over the kit, and this is a little bit unique of a strategy. I'm running two 57s here over the kit, and they're actually both running into an Antares mic mod. So they're being modeled as U87s. So this is kind of a neat home studio style setup. Obviously not all of us running home studios are going to be able to afford two U87s. That's going to break the bank a little bit. So if you need a little bit of a cheaper alternative that's still going to get you a very, very good sounding picture of the kit from your overheads, two 57s running into some kind of mic modeler, or you could get maybe like the Roswell Mini K47. I've been looking into doing that for a little while, just haven't forked over the money to do it yet. But two 57s running into stereo channels being modeled as U87s. So pseudo U87s here over the kit. And the way we've got them set up here, if we come around the back, is that both of these mics here are measured 47 inches from the center of the snare drum. And what this does is it makes sure that these two mics over the kit are going to be getting the hit from the snare drum at the same time. So when the drummer is striking the snare drum, that sound that is created there from that hit is going to hit each of these microphones at the same time. So that way we're not going to have any phase issues with the sound of our snare drum in the overheads. It gives us a good picture of the kit. And honestly, when I set them up like this, I don't actually end up having any problems with the phase of the toms or the kick drum in the overheads. And you can again see our kick drum is baffled off the front, so it does minimize phase issues there. But measuring them off the center of the snare drum gives us a good picture of the kit with the snare drum in the center, and it will minimize any phase issues because any hits that happen here in the center of the kit, so our kick drum, our snare drum, these couple toms here as well, all of that sound is going to hit each of these microphones at exactly the same time. Now, where they're pointing is kind of pointing towards the snare drum, but a little bit towards each side of the kit here. So if we come back around and we look down each microphone, so that guy's pointing towards like the snare drum here, but also a little bit over towards where the ride is. You can kind of get a picture of where that mic's pointing. Now on the opposite side, we're doing the other way. So this microphone here, our other overhead, is pointing towards, again, the snare, but also towards the hi-hat on this side. So when we pull these mics up and we have them panned, one side's going to give us a good picture of the ride cymbal, and the other side's going to give us a good picture of the hi-hat. So it's kind of directional focused towards each side of the kit here. We don't want to point straight down because then again, we're going to be offset from the snare, and each overhead's only going to give you this side of the kit, and we're not going to have that nice center picture of the snare drum. So that's our setup. That's how we're placing these two microphones. That's the microphone choice as well. Both of these microphones are running into the snake here, and then our snake is running out of the drum room and coming in on the back of the board here. So we have a stereo channel coming up So we have our kicks, we have our snares, we have our 4 toms, and then we have our overheads coming up back here as a stereo pair. They are the last channel coming out of the snake in there. So those are coming up here over on the front of the board on channels 11 and 12 right here. So these are our overheads. They are stereo linked. No phantom power because they are dynamic mics, the 57s. So both of these channels are linked here. Our preamp gain is set to 26, so quite a bit higher than everything else we've talked about so far, but they are quite a bit farther from the kit. So we need a little bit more gain, and we don't have as much low end or proximity effect coming from them. So we can kick the gain up a little bit there. Again, though, probably only peaking around -12 or a little bit lower. A harder hit's not going to create as big of a bump in volume, so we can go higher if we need, but I like sitting around the -12 mark there on the input gain. Leaves me plenty of headroom for any gain we get from the mic mod plugin afterwards here. No EQ, no compression on the way in, so that is our channels coming up on the board, coming out of the drum room. Okie dokie, here we are back inside of the DAW now. Here are our overheads here. So you can see where we have the gain set, it seems higher than everything else, but we still have plenty of headroom over the top of each peak here that nothing's gonna clip, even if we zoom out. You can see we stay pretty even here. So being farther from the kit kind of gets everything to even out a little bit. Harder hits don't come across is that much harder than everything else because we don't have any proximity effect to deal with here on the drums. Let me hit play here, and you can hear the kit as a whole, and then I'll solo up just our overhead mics here. So that is our overheads. That's those 257s with the mic mod plugin on. So you can see the 57s are coming in on our input. We're making sure the source mic is Shure SM57s. And then the output, they're being modeled as Neumann U87s. Now I want you to hear the difference here. So I'm going to take this off. You can hear just the raw 57s, which actually doesn't sound bad as overhead mic. So I'm going to hit play. This is just the 257s on our overhead. So just a stereo pair of 57s. Now, a pair of 57s actually doesn't sound bad on overheads. You would think, SM57s for, guitar mics or snare drum, they're not going to sound great on overheads, but they actually give you a nice picture of the kit that sits in a mix really well, because usually what I end up doing in a mix situation is rolling off some of the kick drum and the overheads because I want the low end to be coming from one main source, which is our kick drum spot mic. So I end up rolling off the kick drum anyway, so this kind of gives you that pre-EQ'd sound on your overheads. It's more of a bump in the high mids than the top end, so we don't quite get that cymbal wash way up on the top end, but sometimes you don't need that. And for a rock style track, a little bit of emphasis around the 3, 4, 5K range. Make sure your snare drum cracks a little bit better in your overheads and then in your drum kit overall. So using just a pair of 57s on your overheads can give you a really great rock drum tone. But moving on here now, we're going to listen one more time, and then I'm going to kick in the mic mod. I want you to hear how much more full it sounds. It's not a huge change, but it's just enough energy to round out our kit and give us a good, solid picture of the kit overall from our overheads. So here's without, and then with the mic mod. You can hear we get a couple things from this. It gets quite a bit thicker. We get some more bottom end on it, which gives us a better picture of the kit as a whole. So we have that kick drum down on the bottom end if we want to keep it there and just use this as a kit picture. It also tames that high mid energy from our cymbals, so they're not so harsh or so brittle sounding. They don't have that rock edge to them. They're kind of softer, so we can boost that if we need it, but we can also keep it tamer. This gives us a more flexible picture of the kit rather than the 57s being a more rock sound from our overheads. So if you have that rock energy and that's what you're going for, a pair of 57s is going to serve you fine. But if you want something more flexible, modeling as like U87s or U47s or U67s, anything that's going to give you a more full range picture of the kit, so like 414s, any kind of big or large diaphragm condensers, is going to give you a more flexible sound. It's going to give you more bottom end. It's going to tame that high mid energy and that top end. So you have something that's more usable and you can kind of sculpt to sit inside of a track the way you want. So one more time, here's our overheads, and then I'll throw it inside the drums as well here. So that's how we're recording overheads. No EQ, no compression, just mic choice, mic placement, and setting our input gain appropriately on the way into the DAW here. I hope that was helpful for you. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you're ready to level up your drum mixes, then you need to go through my 3-step framework for mixing drums workshop. This is a 100% free to watch on-demand video training that's going to help you dial in a repeatable workflow for cranking up professional sounding drum mixes right from your home studio. You can get access to that by clicking the link below in the video description. Thank you so much for watching here today, and I will see you in the next video.